for this vast majority of ethnic minorities in this country, the issue of aging is very uncharted in terms of an aging population that, one, the system isn't entirely established or built to withstand. Specifically in the Older Americans Act, it makes two references to communities of color. First is actually a pretty good one in referencing historically serving Hispanic institutions. And the other reference refers to older Americans with limited English proficiency. And so you can see how these broad definitions within the Older Americans Act doesn't fully articulate the true diversity of not only California, but the rest of the country. But in looking at the issue of diversity and looking at different ethnicities and race, it's kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, the lack and this so-called color blindness in approaching the issue of aging creates a lot of deficiencies within our system. Unfortunately, services are not narrowly tailored, are not culturally competent to address the various needs within these ethnic communities. But the other side of it, if what's happened is that if we over-define the issue of race and ethnicity and are too reliant, what happens is that we end up pitting communities against one another. We've seen in the Social Security discussion the pitting of older communities against younger communities. By using the definition of limited English proficiency, this unfortunately excludes African Americans who have significant health disparity needs in the aging field. And so when we walk the line of defining various ethnic groups, I think it's really important that we take a narrow focus in terms of looking at our various communities. And in terms of being in the state of California, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the wonderful economic state that we're all in. And when it comes to the delivery of services and making sure that money is used effectively, I think in terms of cultural competency is a wonderful opportunity for us to not only improve the delivery of the services that the folks in this room provide, but also improving the lives of people like my grandfather. I think when it comes to cultural competency, a lot of work is done locally. In the Southeast Asian community, for example, 90% of the elders that grow up in the community actually live at home, which is significantly different from other populations. This is the result of various reasons. One, just comfort level. It's a lot easier to age in your community and in your homes around familiar people, and around people that understand the struggles that you're going through, that don't make you feel like you're in uncharted territory. And so as we move forward with the Older Americans Act, the idea would be to focus more in terms of developing community access and improving cultural competency to allow individuals to age in their comfort zone so that it isn't uncharted territory. And I think in terms of the care delivery system, I think this is a significant opportunity for the Older Americans Act to improve upon. The issue of mental health care was briefly mentioned in the amendments made in 2006. It was the first time that mental health had ever been brought up in the Older Americans Act. But as we all know, mental health is a significant issue in all populations or ethnic groups in the Asian community. But it's something that's unique, for example, in the Southeast Asian community. While elders might not complain of the traditional signs of depression or feeling lonely or sad, they usually don't articulate those types of things. For example, my grandma never articulates feeling lonely. What she does articulate is the fact that she's feeling aches and pains and stomach aches. And a culturally competent caregiver will recognize that as clear signs of post-traumatic stress disorder in actuality, having escaped a war-torn country and leaving everything behind and entering a country that's completely foreign. And unfortunately, oftentimes these issues are not diagnosed because caregivers aren't trained in a way that allows them to recognize these types of issues. And so as we move forward, I think it's significant to look at the issue of cultural competency as a vital aspect of the Older Americans Act. Whether we like it or not, the population of diverse elders is significantly growing. By the year 2050, the people of color, elders that are people of color will make up 46% of the total aging population. And so as we move forward in terms of public policy, I think this is a significant and wonderful opportunity to make the changes so that we're ahead of the curve. And I think in conclusion, I think, again, referencing back to the wonderful state of California, and I always look at it as the best of times and worst of times. In a lot of ways, the Older Americans Act offers us the best of times, an opportunity to make significant changes in our communities that benefit our elders and help them live successful and healthy lives. But the dark side of the issue, the worst of times, is the fact that for diverse communities of color, and especially the elder populations, social services across the board are being targeted for elimination. The California Cash Assistance Program for Immigrants is targeted for elimination by the governor. Programs that provide sole incomes for elders is being targeted for wholesale eliminations. And so while we're discussing the Older Americans Act, I think it's important to keep in the back of minds that there are significant challenges ahead, but at the same time, it's up to us to meet that challenge.